and the Grinch are happy about it.
There wouldn't be a First Amendment without the Second Amendment. Your right to freedom of speech, your freedom of religion, the freedom and liberties that we have in this country are because of the Second Amendment. And never ever forget that.
She's not going to be the great savior for the Democrats, and they can't skip over the first black woman vice president with the whitest man ever in history. Gavin Newsom.
It's time that we, the people, take this country back.
And if you try to transition a child, you are guilty of child abuse, and every doctor, every nurse, every clinician that is helping that is culpable in that crime. This thing is so full of pork that even Scrooge and the Grinch are happy about it.
There wouldn't be a First Amendment without the Second Amendment. Your right to freedom of speech, your freedom of religion, the freedom and liberties that we have in this country are because of the Second Amendment. And never ever forget that.
She's not going to be the great savior for the Democrats, and they can't skip over the first black woman vice president with the whitest man ever in history. Gavin Newsom.
It's time that we, the people, take this country back. Hello, everybody. This is Congressman Andy Ogles for this 38th episode or edition of Restoring the Republic. Wow, there's a lot to cover. We've got a woke city mayor defending illegals, standing with criminals over Nashvillians. So it's happening right there in our home, my district, your district. Before we get to that, I went to El Salvador, saw the notorious CCOT prison, which quite frankly isn't notorious. And then we have this budget reconciliation bill, which quite frankly is a bunch of crap. I mean, as it stands, it's dead on arrival. This has been, quite frankly, a hot mess. You see they're trying to message behind it, but at the end of the day, it falls short. And what do I mean by that? So we have a huge problem with Medicaid, Medicare. And what do I mean by that? So the Medicare rate would take care of our seniors is set by the government. The Medicaid is set by the free market or hospitals, et cetera, insurance companies. And what's happened and what we've seen is that the insurance companies, the hospitals, they've raised the rates, I understand, because they're getting reimbursed at a kind of a pro rata share. But now there's this quirk about the expansion of the population of Medicaid that we've seen. So I'll use California as an example. So California is reimbursed at a higher rate for illegals than they are for seniors that are citizens. They're reimbursed at a higher rate for individuals with no job. So you could be 20 years old, 30 years old, able-bodied, should be working, get your butt off the couch. You're playing video games in your mama's basement, and what are you doing? You're going to the doctor. California is incentivized to get that individual health care versus taking care of our seniors. And what makes it worse, I'll keep picking on California, is the Medicaid reimbursement for California, the money they're getting from the federal government, is larger than the entire budget of the state of Florida. This is nonsense. This is broken. California, New York, New Jersey, the blue states, they're screwing America, they're screwing Medicaid, they're screwing our seniors, and you and I have to pay for it. And right now, we need to have a fix for this. It's not that complicated, but everybody's afraid to do the right thing. That's what I'm pushing for. I'm not going to be an Obamacare Republican. I'm not going to vote for something that is essentially going to codify and make Obamacare permanent forever. I led the charge in Tennessee to kill Obamacare expansion in the state of Tennessee first in the country a few years ago. Florida was second, and then other states follow suit, a total of 10. And now what we're going to do, Republicans are poised to make Obamacare permanent. That's nonsense. You got to fix the FMAP, which is the reimbursement rate for Medicaid. We got to make sure that our seniors are taken care of first. There's no reason why illegals should be getting better health care than our seniors. There's no reason that some lazy bum sitting on his mama's couch playing video games gets better health care than his seniors. I've had enough of this crap. We came up here to do a job. We should be staying this weekend, and we should be getting it done. Now, that being said, let's keep moving. All right, we've seen let's go to El Salvador. So I was in El Salvador, one of a couple members of Congress, invited by the president. So we met with the president, Bugali. Really showed us the turnaround that they've had in El Salvador. If you don't know much about that part of Central America, El Salvador has been in turmoil for 40 years. Civil war, dictators, gang violence, really decimated the population and the economy, essentially a country run by the gangs. Bugali was elected. He made a commitment to fight crime, zero tolerance. And what did he do? He put the criminals in prison. Imagine that. If you're a member of a gang in El Salvador, it's a 20-year prison sentence. And the streets are safe. Per their information, they haven't had a murder in El Salvador in roughly 3 years. Why? Because they put the gangs in prison. They're starting to preach accountability, consequences for your actions. Unlike those two members of Congress that assaulted law enforcement officers as they tried to storm a detention center. I've called for an investigation into that, but that's another conversation. But all that to say is the prisoners that are being deported to El Salvador, to the Sicat prison, I went into the cells the unit that houses non-El Salvadorians, and then one that does house El Salvadorians. I can tell you they're being treated well, they're being fed, it's clean, it's safe, still prison, it sucks, but at the end of the day, they're not on our streets. Your daughters, your wives, your family is safer. And I want to talk about, let's jump to Nashville, and then we have votes, and so we'll cut this one short. So Mayor O'Connell, so what we've seen, so we just had a hearing on Homeland Security. Secretary Noem, who's doing a fantastic job, was in the committee. I had an opportunity to question her, but we've seen Homeland and ICE have operations all over the country. They're deporting illegals, and quite frankly, they're deporting criminals. And so here's a nugget right here for you. Mr. Rodriguez, 39 years old, aggravated assault. Mayor O'Connell is defending this guy and saying he shouldn't be deported. I say lock his you know what up. We got this little peach of a person, Yassim Al-Rash, a convicted rapist from Iraq. Again, this is who's getting deported. And so your mayor of Nashville is picking criminals over you. And we'll get this guy, Franklin Oswaldo Velasquez Reyes. That's more letters in the alphabet, but all that to say, he's 33 years old, member of MS-13. He's guilty of murder. And so what we've got here is it's time that we clean up our streets. It's time we deport the people that came here illegally. And if you're a municipal mayor and you're obstructing Homeland Security, ICE, in their investigations and deporting these individuals, you are complicit in a crime. And I asked that question to Kristi Noem, and she agreed. And then last but not least, we have an organization based in Nashville that over the last few years has gotten $3 million of federal money. Now, there is a group that the mayor is propping up, Nashville Belonging, I don't know what it is. You know, I tell you what, who doesn't belong in Nashville is illegal criminals, but that's another, we just talked about that. But now we have an organization getting money from the federal government that is the seed money, presumably, and this is why I've called for an investigation, is this entity, this new entity that has gotten federal dollars being used to help illegals evade federal law enforcement? And does the mayor, what's his role in it? Is he culpable? Is he guilty? I've called for an investigation from the Homeland Security and Judiciary committees. We have big news that's going to be dropping tomorrow. Stay tuned with this. We have to secure our streets. We have to secure our border. We have to secure our country. You've seen members of these gangs. When I was in El Salvador, I talked to one of the individuals, and he was asked, how long have you been in the gang? Keep in mind, he was in the U.S., in between Virginia and New Hampshire. He said 13 years old. Why are you in prison? He said homicide. And then the question was asked, how many? And he said 50, 5-0. These are the types of people that Joe Biden, his failed policies, his failed administration, the Democrats let invade our country. Laken Riley is dead because of individuals like this. Your family is less safe because of people like this. And so, given the choice to stand for illegals or stand for Americans, I stand for Americans. Between illegals and Tennesseans, I stand with Tennesseans. Between illegals and our law enforcement and our community, I stand with law enforcement and our community without a second guess. We have no choice. Secure our country, secure our borders. This is Congressman Andy Ogles. Have a wonderful day. Stand for your community. Thank law enforcement for doing their job. And if anybody in your government is obstructing justice, make sure you let the FBI know about it. God bless.